The 2 Count, where comedy meets wrestling. Please comment, share, and like, and if you're watching the live stream, join us with your comments and questions. And now here are the hosts of The 2 Count, comedian John Russell, and wrestling broadcaster Big Ace.
Good afternoon. See, I did it again. Good evening, everybody. I do a show in the afternoon where I interview regional comics, and I always get confused because this is nighttime. Anyway, folks, John Russell here. I'm alongside Big Ace and our very special guest tonight, Brad Williams. Good evening, Brad. It's great to have you with us, sir.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be talking wrestling. I always appreciate it. I feel like comedians and wrestling fans have something in common where, like, as soon as you find out someone's a wrestling fan at like a party or a function, you're like, ooh, I'm safe now. I can talk to you. And I'm not gonna be looked at funny. I'm not gonna be, talked about in terms of no one's gonna throw around the F word, and things like that. So I love it. So I'm very happy to be here. In fact, you guys got me because they're currently, and I hope this doesn't make your ratings go down for people that don't realize this. WrestleMania 31 is currently airing on FS1, and I was currently watching that.
Oh my gosh, we pulled you away. That's awesome. I gotta
at work. I can tune in. It's fine.
Right. I gotta tell you, it's so great to have you with us here. So we're able to pop up comments, and here's one. Hello, everyone, from Erica, and welcome, Brad. Erica is in Denver, Colorado, watching us this evening. We're happy to see her.
Erica, then you will love this. Look at that background. That's Bronco banners right there. And look at that, Erica. John Elway signed jersey.
Oh, you got the hand jersey right there. Look at that.
You ever consider buying a car from Elway?
It's funny you say that. I played his Christmas party for his car dealerships last December in the before time. I say everything's the before time now because in the last 4 months I don't know what's going on in the world. But yes, in the before time, I did his Christmas party for his car dealerships, and I got to meet him, and I got to take a photo with him. And the next day, I got to watch a Broncos game. It was Broncos against the Lions. I watched that game from his box.
Oh wow!
And at the time, I said, "Wow, if the world ends tomorrow, I'd die happy." I didn't know it would actually end.
Well, see, that's what I was gonna say. There's Jason. Good evening, Jason. Great to have you with us. I got to tell you, because you are at a much higher level comic wise than me. I'm in Minneapolis. Oh yeah. You did a show for John Elway's car dealership. I did a Christmas show for a Caterpillar dealership in Minot, North Dakota. So tell me who's having a better time.
I don't know. I did a Zoom show for a law firm about a few weeks ago to make some ends meet. So
yes,
you know what?
Yes.
We're all biting and clawing. Right
We're
now.
all in the same spot. That's right.
Yeah.
So one of the things now, what we do here is, Brad, we talk a little bit about comedy. We talk a little bit about wrestling and see where they all meet, because I kind of feel like, having been a wrestling fan since I was 12 in the 70s, and doing stand up now. I've been doing it for about 11 years. I was in radio before that, just to give you a little background.
Right.
There were between wrestling and doing stand up, there are a lot of real similarities. Because there's is a stand up comedian, as you're coming up, you literally have to protect the business just like wrestlers do. You don't want to have some dummy that shouldn't be on stage going up and ruining a venue because they're not ready for it. And wrestling is very, very similar to that.
Yeah. One other way I think that they are very similar is that to be successful, you have to be authentic. And that's more of a sort of a 90s on for both, Whereas before, you can kind of be a character in both stand-up and wrestling. You know, you could be a Repo Man, and you can kind of be, you know, you can do something. Was he actually a Repo Man? No. Did the guys who were in Demolition actually dress like that in their private lives? I hope so. But probably not. But then we got to a point in both wrestling and comedy where you have to be authentic. Where I tell comics coming up when they ask me for advice, they go, how do I come up with my material? I say, well, talk about what you think is funny, what you genuinely think is funny. Don't talk about something that you're like, well, other comics are talking about this or they're doing this, so I should do that as well. No, just be you. Only talk about how much you hate fake emotional support dogs if you actually hate fake emotional support dogs. Don't just throw that out there. And I think we've discovered that in wrestling too, where the best wrestling gimmicks or characters are just that person, but with the volume turned way up. So in that way, yeah, stand-up and wrestling have a lot in common. It's all, you're playing a character. You're playing a heightened version of yourself. When people hang out with me, if people meet me after they've seen my show, they're almost disappointed that I'm not exactly like I am on stage. And it's like, dude, if I was that guy all the time, oh, that would not be good. I would not have many friends. My wife would certainly leave me. So yeah, I can't be that guy all the time. And the same way, if you met The Undertaker and you were having a beer with him, if he was rolling his eyes in the back of his head and like, you know what I mean? It'd be weird. You can't do that all the time. So yeah, so to be authentic in wrestling and comedy, I think that's something it definitely has in common.
I'm going to ask you one more question about comedy, and then we'll go off in a different direction. So a lot of people know that the story about you at the Mencia show being pulled up on stage. My curiosity is, had you been doing stand up and went to, you hadn't been doing it at all?
No.
Oh my gosh.
So for the people that aren't familiar, I got my start in comedy when I went to a comedy show. I was 19 years old. It was Father's Day weekend, 2000. And let's see, I'm 36 now. It's 2020. I can't do math. Somewhere around 2004, 2005. Anyway, moving on. I can't do math. Anyway, but I was in the audience, and I took my dad to see this show. And Mencia was on stage making midget jokes. And half the audience is laughing, and the audience that's sitting by me is like, and they're not laughing. And he notices that and goes, why aren't you guys laughing? He goes, what, is one of them here? And I just raised my creepy little hand in the air like, hey, what's up, dude? And he called me up on stage, and he started asking me questions. And remember how I said the best comedy is truthful. I just answered the questions honestly. I wasn't trying to be funny. And my answers got laughs. And once that happened, I was like, this is the greatest feeling in the world. I'm going to do this now. And then the next week, I went to the Laugh Factory open mic night to check it out to see if I was worthy. And after I saw 3 homeless guys go on stage, I was like, yeah, oh yeah, I could do this. I could definitely do the Laugh Factory open mic night. And the week after that, I was doing the Laugh Factory open mic night. And that was 16 years ago. And I've been doing stand-up ever since.
Awesome. It's a great story. But, you know, the reason I ask is because a lot of times guys that are starting out, they'll go and watch, you know, their favorite comics to get inspiration, to support what's going on, to be a part of it. So that's why I was curious whether you'd done it. But to go from that to where you are now is fantastic.
It's crazy. I mean, I was always interested in comedy, but and I did like improv when I was in high school, but I never thought you could actually make a living. It's one of these jobs where you go, I know that's a job, but I don't know how you get that job. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like there's no stand-up comic booth at career day. You can't intern as a comic, you know. Yeah. You know what I mean? You just have to start doing it. The same way if someone told me like, hey, how do you become a coach in the NFL? I'd be like, I don't know. I know that those jobs are out there, but I have no idea how you get them. I don't even know where you start. So yeah, I kind of had that similar thought with stand-up comedy. I don't know how this is a job, and then that's the best part about stand-up comedy is the only way to get good at it is to do it. You can't read a book, you can't take a class, you can't watch a video, and then all of a sudden know what to do. You have to just start doing it, and so that's what I did. I just started doing it. Any open mic night that would have me, any place I could find a microphone. If I had to lie and tell them I was Wee Man from Jackass to get on a show, done. Did that once. But yeah, I would just you just go up on stage and you try to figure it out.
When you did that one time, was that with the story with the golf tournament where they thought you were a Wee Man?
No, that's a different story. The time I used it to go on stage it was this open mic night in West Hollywood for like 3 drunks. Literally, the audience was like 3 people, and this guy ran this open mic night, and I missed the sign up by like a minute and a half, and he was just like, "No, you're not here. You're not here. You don't get on." And I'm like, "There's 3 fucking people." Can I curse on this? I'm sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's 3 fucking people in the audience, and he wouldn't do it. And I go, "Really? You're not gonna let Wee Man from Jackass on your show?" And he goes, "Oh,
yeah,
shit, yes, you're on next." So yeah, I was giving legitimacy to a show. The story, Ace, that you are referring to is the story I told on This Is Not Happening, where I was called up to play in a celebrity golf tournament. I was very excited because I never considered myself a celebrity, still don't. So I was like, "Oh my God, I've made it. I'm in a celebrity golf tournament." And I went and found my cart, and the name on my cart was Wee Man. And because what happened was they had a dropout in the celebrities, and the guy was like frantically trying to find a new celebrity. This was at the Pachanga Casino in Temecula, California. And they just looked at the comedy club and said like, "Well, who's the comedian playing this week?" And the guy looked, saw my face, and just went, "Oh, it's Wee Man from Jackass," and didn't fact check, didn't do anything, just said it's Wee Man. Call him up. They called me. I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And I walked down, Wee Man on the cart. Well, that was a fun day.
Yeah, that was a great story. I enjoyed that.
Thank you. I could do all the punchlines and the ins and outs, but I would really advise people to go and watch the This Is Not Happening video on YouTube to really get the full effect of it.
We'll track it down, and we'll put a link in the comments here so people can track it down when they're done. We're going to take a quick question here from Jason. It'll help us transfer over to wrestling. So what do you think?
Oh, did he say the perfect 80s? Because
the middle of a wrestler, the perfect middle of the 80s wrestler and comic.
Oh, see, I would say Carrot Top's a good one, but I may have to go Gallagher just because Gallagher has the Sledge-O-Matic.
Yeah,
you could really be a good heel if at some point you pull out the Sledge-O-Matic and the ref doesn't see you and you hit the guy with the Sledge-O-Matic. That's pretty good. That's like, that's, I mean, basically we all know Triple H totally bit off Gallagher with the sledgehammer. We all know that.
Oh, that's great.
One of wrestling's worst kept secrets. Triple H stole that from Gallagher. And, I would, but Carrot Top is a great answer. A great answer. I would say that Carrot Top looks more like a wrestler than the Red Rooster looked like a wrestler. We're going deep. We're going deep with the references tonight. We're gonna go Red Rooster. I've already thrown out Repo Man. There's gonna be some references here, ladies and gentlemen.
I love it because I'm old and it entertains me.
Right.
This is the truth. We at one point were trying to when Sheamus had his red mohawk, we were trying to bring the Red Rooster back, and nobody was getting on board with it, and I was so pissed. I was so pissed. Yeah, Carrot Top is jacked.
That would have been a great Halloween episode of Raw if Sheamus came out as the Red Rooster.
I'm the Red Rooster fella.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so great.
Well, I'll leave this to Ace, but I gotta say this. You were not able to be with us last week, and guess what? It's all for the best. It really is. Because then last week, you were announced as the guest host of the Jericho Cruise.
Yes, the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea triple whammy. I am now the guest host. I was on the first one, and honest to God, one of the best vacations of my life. It was so much fun. Wrestling, heavy metal, comedy, all on a cruise. It was so awesome. And just, we talk about what it's like when you're at a party and you see someone who's also into wrestling, and how you're like, oh my God, I can talk to you. Imagine just a whole boat of that. And so you could talk to anyone. Everyone's trying to outmark each other. But they're just such intelligent, smart fans. And now I was on the first one where the wrestling was Ring of Honor and Impact. Now AEW's come along since then, and it's going to be legit AEW matches. It's so weird. I was looking through my phone, and I realized that I have a photo with Santana and Ortiz before AEW. I didn't know they were Santana and Ortiz.
Right.
Now I go back and I'm like, I got a photo with these guys just hanging out.
Isn't that great? Yeah. So JR wasn't on the first cruise. I was on the second one. Well, I met you briefly. You were very kind. Look at that. There we are.
Hey, look at that.
My sunburnt. Oh, that's gross.
Oh, yeah.
My shoulder like that isn't good.
Yeah, because you said JR wasn't on the first cruise, and I'm like, no, JR was on.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
John Russell.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We did radio for like 10 years together before this, so I've just called him that forever. It's hard to not.
I got it.
But no, dude, you definitely look like you were enjoying yourself, because you were one of the people that was talent, performer on that first cruise.
Yeah.
But you were everywhere. You were at like all the shows.
I wanted to be at all the shows, and it was like I wanted to go see all, like, whatever band was playing, I was there. Whatever wrestling, I was always at wrestling. I got to bring out SCU and be kind of their manager for one match. I loved it. I even went to the shows that were like the wrestling one-man shows. I went and saw Jericho's one-man show, Mick Foley's one-man show. The craziest thing is Mick Foley, the hardcore legend, sees me before the show and just walks up and goes, I've been staring at your face on the road for years now, and just sits down and starts talking to me like we're old friends. And I'm trying not to geek out, but like, it's Mick fucking Foley. And because he had been touring comedy clubs, so he would see my face of like, hey, coming soon, Brad Williams. And of course I saw his face because he's Mick fucking Foley. But yeah, and could not have been a nicer guy. And it's so cool that those kind of moments get to happen where you're like, wow, I used to watch this dude and be like, this is the dude, and now he knows who I am before I even meet him. It's madness. And now the fact that, like, I can watch something happen on AEW and then text the wrestler and be like, hey man, that was a great spot, or are you okay? Because that looked like it hurt. So right. It's really cool. But yeah, the Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea, this third cruise, so far announced is obviously Chris Jericho. Myself as the host. You have the entire AEW roster, which will be there. So all your favorites, from Cody to Lance Archer to the Bucks, all that. And then you have a couple of legends that will be on the boat. You have Bully Ray. You have Ted DiBiase. I'm doing this from memory. And you have there's like a third legend. Damn it, I can't remember who.
Yeah, I think Candice Michelle.
Yeah,
right?
Candice Michelle. She's on there. So yeah, it's. I mean, come on. I just want the $1 Million Man to do the laugh as my ringtone.
Oh, that poor man's gonna be walking around that whole week just having to do the laugh. But it's amazing.
I'm gonna bring so many throat lozenges for the man, and I'll just be passing them out to him, and just be like, "Dude, here you go, here you go." Hacksaw Jim Duggan, thank you, Dave.
Nice call, Dave.
Hacksaw is announced as one of the other legends, so it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait. I think it's in February of 2021, so plenty of time. I'm sure we'll have a vaccine by then. Come on. I'm sure racial tensions won't be as high, please. And we'll be able to do that because I was booked to do the second Chris Jericho cruise, but I had to stay home because my daughter had the nerve to be born a week before.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Congrats on the kiddo. Yes.
Yeah, definitely congratulations on that.
Yeah, she's coming up on 5 months old. It's awesome. It's
Real quick,
pretty,
what is that like? A newborn during the pandemic era?
Well, here's the thing. There is never a good time to have a pandemic. Never. Ever. But if I had to pick a time, it would literally be right now because now I'm forced to be home with her when she's born, as she's young, and it's great because otherwise I'd be on the road every weekend and I would just come home, and every weekend I would come home and there would be a new milestone that I missed or a new thing that she did, and I wouldn't get to be there for those moments. But now I am. I'm getting to be there for those moments when she's opening her eyes, when she's learning to laugh, when she's holding things for the first time, when she's turning over, when she's doing all these things I didn't even know were milestones until you become a father and you're like, oh, they're huge, and you get so excited. So yeah, it's really great, very exciting, and I could not be a prouder papa.
Awesome.
So going back to the cruise, we hopefully have a lot of people watching that were on the first cruise and the second cruise.
Yeah.
So what's like one or two of the big things that you remember from the first cruise that stand out that you're like, that was awesome?
Oh man. Walking out with SCU, that was crazy. And it's hard to describe this match, but Ace, you can kind of understand it. The Mario Brothers 6-man tag was one of the craziest things ever. And I'll say this, because it was a bunch of the Ring of Honor guys dressed up as every character from the Super Mario Brothers fighting the Impact guys, and it was just bonkers. It was like, I love the fact that right now we're at this great time in wrestling where you can be both like serious in terms of be real or be hardcore, be street fight, and then you can be absolutely absurd and it still works. Like, you could be Orange Cassidy and get so over, it's madness. So like, I love that we're in this great time where we're not taking it so seriously, where it's like, cool, be your authentic self, but if you're just something batshit crazy, yeah, Hangman Page did the Yoshi jump with feet kicking. I know there was a massive figure 4 leg lock that they were all trying to turn over, and Kenny Omega ran out dressed as Toad and started mashing buttons, and it helped it. It was, and like, they were all doing all the trademark Mario moves. It was madness. It was so great. And then one of the coolest moments that had nothing to do with wrestling was Corey Taylor, the lead singer of Slipknot. He did an acoustic set on the deck as the boat was pulling out of the Bahamas, and we were surrounded by these 2 other massive boats, and the chants that we gave the other boats, there was a fuck your boat chant, there was a our boat's better chant, clap 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 clap. Like, it was awesome, and you just saw all these old people on their balconies just clutching their pearls like, oh my god, what's going on that boat? That's it. And it was so great to see 2 bigger ships that have more amenities, that have more things, that have more whatever, and you couldn't pay me enough to leave the boat that we were on. It was so much fun. And yeah, I can't wait to be back on it. It's going to be great. I'm a huge fan of all the people I mentioned that are going to be on it. I've been wanting. Oh yeah. I forgot who was playing Wario.
I think it was Marty, wasn't it?
What's up?
Was it Marty Skrull? Wasn't he Wario? Thought it was
Yes,
Marty.
because he's got the mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So yeah, it was him, and he ran away with Brandy Rhodes, who was playing Princess Peach. It was just all goofy. It was all fun. It was all this great clubhouse. And when Jericho did a tag match with the Bucks, that was awesome. The all-female AC/DC cover band fucking killed it. Doing a show, because I did my first set. I did two shows on that boat. I did my first show, which was just my show. And in the second show, I found out all these people were coming back to see me again because they loved it so much the first time. And I'm like, guys, I don't know if you know how comedy works. It's the same shit. But like, I'm not going to write a new hour. But I got so many people that were coming back and saying, like, no, we're seeing you again, that I pretty much did an hour, but it was all just comedy that I observed from the boat. Like, and thank you, Dan. Thank you. You were front row. And so, like, my favorite moment was I was hanging out with Scorpio Sky, and he had told me that he can't swim, that he hope he doesn't fall off the boat because he can't swim. And so during that second show, I see Scorpio walk in and sit down. I go, Scorpio Sky, you told me you can't swim, which doesn't make any sense. You can do a springboard somersault tornado DDT, no problem, but this motion is too much for you. And just the fact that I made all the wrestlers laugh is because, yeah, they came to me after that. Like, once I performed, then I could talk to them. Like, because before I performed, if I talked to them, they were just like, who's this fucking fanboy? You know what I mean? But now that they saw me perform, it was like, oh no, he's a performer. He's legit. He's cool. Like, he's one of us. So yeah, just the whole experience. And to say now that I can text Chris Jericho and he texts back is like the biggest mind fuck of all time.
Okay, now you recently had some heat with Lance Archer.
I did. It was crazy.
I just thought it was hilarious, and I didn't. I mean, it's like, as I recall, you weren't like starting something with him. You were talking about Marco getting tossed over the railing, which I've never ever seen in my life.
Yeah. So what happened was AEW came to me and said, "Can you make a prediction for the Lance Archer Cody Rhodes match?" And I made a prediction that aired on the show. And my whole prediction was I was rooting for Cody Rhodes because he's the smaller guy, because he's a short dude. And then my wife goes, "Yeah, Cody's 6'1". I go, "Oh, they're both tall guys. Like, screw them both. I don't like them." And I said, "I hope the match ends with Marco Stunt running out and punching you both in the dick." And I thought, that's pretty fun. Did that, quick joke. We're all good. And nothing of it. And then all of a sudden, my phone lights up and says, "The Murder Hawk monster tweeted at you." And I'm like, well, that's not good. And he essentially tells me that when he sees me, he's going to do to me what he did to Marco Stunt, which is choke slam him from the ring into the third row. And I'm just like, oh, that's not good. That's and in my head I go, well, how do I respond? I have to respond. So I can't say anything like, no, because I can't do shit to him. I no, that's just so. And I didn't want to make fun of him or his look or wrestling or anything like that, because I'm a huge fan and his look is awesome. So I just said, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, can you toss me into the third row via Zoom so we can have good social distancing? And then he won't want me to say this, but I'll say it. He DM'd me after that and said, that made me laugh. We're friends. And I was like, yes. So now I'm friends with the Murder Hawk monster, which
good friend to have.
how amazing is that nickname, by the way?
Right.
And he's a good friend to have if you should run into a jam.
I know that I can always call up my friend the Murder Hawk monster. And I'm new to the Lance Archer thing. For people that followed him in New Japan, they obviously know who he is. I think he did some stuff in Impact as well. I was not familiar with him. I'm just becoming familiar with him through AEW, and my God, I am a fan. I am a fan of this dude. I'm gonna go back and watch some of his old Ring of Honor matches because it's New Japan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch some of those matches because it is awesome.
Yeah, that guy's just the beast. Just
Yeah.
monster. So, I mean, where did this all begin for you as far as being a wrestling fan, Baird? Like, what was the thing that turned you? I could tell you for me, JR knows this story. We've said it before on the show, but I remember watching Mania 3, Hogan slamming Andre as a little kid, and that was it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what it was. I mean, I was born in 1984, so that's right there. And I don't know who got me a tape. Someone got me a videotape of, it was like Hulk Hogan's greatest matches, and it was like I still remember what was on the tape. It started off with Hogan versus Big Boss Man in a steel cage. Went from there to Hulk Hogan versus Greg Valentine. Not even WWF, like before that.
That's probably like AWA then.
Yeah, and then it was it was something else, and then it was one of the Hogan Savage matches, and then after that it was Hogan versus Andre, your match, and just him slamming him. I'm like, well, there you go. And I watched the hell out of that tape, and then my dad took me to the Anaheim Convention Center to see wrestling, and it was a battle royal. And it got down to Bret Hart and Ted DiBiase, and Hogan runs out. He hadn't been there the whole time. Hogan runs out, distracts Ted DiBiase. Bret Hart throws him over. Destruction. So yeah, it's awesome. That's how my fandom started. I had wrestling buddies as a kid. Yeah, for those of you who don't remember wrestling buddies, well, hold on, I have one. One second.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is awesome. He's got a collection too.
They're hard to find now too. That's the other thing. Like the original ones are hard to find.
Thank you, eBay.
Oh my! That's one of the hardest ones to find.
Look at that.
Yeah, because they only had good guys.
Yeah, they did. It was like Warrior, Macho Man, and Hogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, only had Warrior, Macho Man, and Hogan, which were the good guys. I don't want to drop the elbow on the good guy. So, yeah, my sister actually found this on eBay, got it for me. You can see a video of me on my Instagram WrestleMania weekend dropping an elbow on this guy. So,
yeah. Oh, and it's got the belt. That belt has always been one of the best ones ever.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring this on the cruise and have him sign it. Although,
oh gosh, yeah.
How great is that?
That's
I had wrestling buddies. I had all the toys. And just a wrestling fan for years. Huge in the Attitude Era. Kind of dropped off when I went to college and was establishing myself and working, and I didn't have enough time, and it's just I kind of faded out. And then it's so weird in my 30s, I got back into it without kids, just me getting back into it. Started obviously AEW from the beginning, and now I'm all back in, man. And here's why I don't know. I need to teach a class to other husbands, I got my wife to watch wrestling and to enjoy wrestling. Like now she loves it. She watches it. She gets mad if I start watching AEW Dynamite without her. Like it's madness. I don't know how I did that. So yeah, it's a nice renaissance for wrestling right now where, like I said, it's a great mix of the truly athletic and the absurd. And then you also have options because like back in the day, it was WWF, WCW, then later ECW, and you had those options, and you could tell who were WCW guys and WWF guys and ECW guys. And then for a long time, once Vince won the war, there was no competition. So it was just you got what WWE threw at you. And I think the product got a little stale during that. But now with all this competition, the product is so good when you have WWE, NXT, AEW, and because of the internet now, you can watch New Japan, you can watch Triple A, you can watch obviously Ring of Honor, Impact. Like there's all these promotions that now they're all gunning for you, and it's great. I think the quality of wrestling has really gone up.
Have you been watching WWE as well, Brad? Or
I haven't. I don't really know what's going on. I try to tune into Raw every now and then just to kind of get updated, but I'm pretty much mostly just an AEW guy, and that comes from the friendship with Jericho. The fact that Jericho had me on his podcast, and then from there booked me on the cruise, and then he's come to a couple of my shows, and I've been on his podcast now twice, and just legit, that person that says, hey, don't meet your heroes, didn't have Chris Jericho as a hero. He's legit the nicest dude on the planet. He's amazing. So I want to support my friend, so that's why I watch AEW. And also, thankfully, to me at least, AEW to me seems like this one is for the marks. This one is for the diehard wrestling fans because they use terminology that no one like. They'll use the terms of getting over, you're a mark, like stuff like that. And WWE is for the kids, and that's fine. Yeah, there needs to be that range. I'm not saying one's better, one's worse. It's just different. So it's fine if you're a fan. If you're a fan of WWE, fuck yeah, awesome. I'm not gonna hate. Enjoy it, have fun. For me, I just prefer AEW, and that's my preference. So yeah. And some people watch them both. Some people watch that and NXT.
Yeah, I was just thinking that earlier today because I real quick went through Raw on DVR today, and I was telling John before we came on, I was like, man, a 3-hour show, and I think I watched about 45 minutes of it because the rest of it just was not worth me stopping to watch. And that's because I'm starting, it's not for me anymore. I'm more into seeing what AEW is putting out. And I was thinking that the other day, I was like, man, it's just a different product, and I'm just more in because it is kind of reminiscent of that Attitude Era too.
I was going to say, the thing is, I remember the time for me when I knew that I would still pay attention to, but I didn't care about it nearly as much. And that's when Ace and I went to they had a live Raw in Minneapolis when they had the Slammy Awards. And we went and I'm sitting next to Ace and somebody else. And right next to me is a young kid, 8-10 years old, and his father. And I'm sitting here, and all of us wrestling fans are booing the hell out of Roman Reigns. And this little kid is cheering. And I look over and I think to myself, what kind of asshole are you? And because it's like this poor little kid is here among all of these jackasses that are booing the hell out of his hero. Mm-hmm. And it just occurred to me, you know what? They are not writing this for me. They're not writing it for me, and I have to let it go.
Yeah.
I realized that at WrestleMania 28 when Rock beat John Cena, and I laughed at the 3 children behind me in Cena shirts who were crying, and I was like, "The Rock won!" I felt horrible, but I was just so caught up in it that I couldn't stop. But yeah,
That's one of those moments where like you catch yourself in the mirror masturbating, and you're like, "What am I? What have I
I
become?"
made eye contact with myself now.
This would be great with better lighting. So I'm going to catch.
That's
I'm
hilarious.
going to catch up here quick on some comments. This is about Lance Archer. He and Ospreay in G1 last year was one you want to watch.
Yeah, he mentioned that on the Talk is Jericho podcast that was Lance Archer's favorite match was him and Ospreay. So
okay,
definitely
one to go right to. Team with Davey Smith Jr. for tag champs.
Nice.
Dave also got his fiance into wrestling. Probably took your class.
Dave,
which
rock
is excellent.
on. Husband Hall of Fame.
And then Dan's got one here. Your joke about how you booked the cruise is priceless. I don't know if I know that story.
I don't know if I know that story.
Oh, that's great. We were having that conversation earlier. JR was talking about a show we did earlier, and I was like, that never happened in my mind.
We had a guest on. He doesn't even remember
it. I'm sorry. I've just made I've obviously in a 16-year career I've made so many jokes that sometimes I literally don't remember the jokes that I made. I'm not sure what the joke is. If you give me the premise, it'll probably come back to me. But if you comment on whoever said that, just comment the premise and hopefully I'll fill in the punchlines. But yeah, I don't remember how I got booked. Something to do with Hornswoggle, maybe? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. So tell me real quick, because I thought was one of the most fun things that the Inner Circle did was the Manitoba Melee. How much? Because obviously you're just doing a little part. Whoops, hold on here. I'm gonna pop it up. Dan's got it.
Oh. Having a threesome and looking at Jericho's face. Oh, okay. I think I had something about like how did I? Oh God, I know it, but I don't know it, and if I don't know it well enough, I'll just be word vomiting. But it I know kind of what it was. It had something to do with me being in a Devil's 3-way with Jericho, and that's how I got booked on the cruise or something like that, or probably some stupid joke like my dick was bigger than his and I would promise to tell people. I don't know. So, but thank you for you enjoying it and remember it. Chris was in the crowd. Oh, that's right. He was in the balcony that night. Yeah. That's why I can't remember the joke because I've literally only told it once. So it was, but yeah, I saw Chris up in the balcony, and I said something along the lines of we were in that Devil's 3-way together, and then I made a joke about it. It worked that night. I'm sorry I can't think of it right now, but yeah. So what was the thing? Oh, the
Manitoba Melee.
Yes. So Jericho just texted me and goes, "Dude, have you seen that stunt video that went viral?" And I went, "Yes." And he goes, "Cool. We're doing that for the bubbly bunch. So film yourself getting hit and then hitting." And I was like, "Oh, all right, I'll do it." So I filmed myself getting knocked back. I tried, if you watch the Manitoba Melee and you watch how I get hit and fall back, I tried to take it like The Rock used to take the stunner from Austin, where he would take it, go on his back, and then roll, push up, and then like just he took him and Scott Hall were my favorites in terms of how they took the stunner. It was so great. The Rock would just act like it killed him, and then Scott Hall would take it. He would stun and then pop up and do the world's biggest back bump. It was awesome. But yeah, so I roll back like The Rock taking stunner, and then I did the worm up, and then I did like a Superman punch to the camera. And the cool part was Jericho didn't tell me who else was going to be in the melee, so I had no idea. So I was watching it as a fan, just waiting for me to pop up, and then all of a sudden, I'm watching it, and it's like, oh, there's the librarian. Oh, there's Lou Ferrigno. Why is he okay? Oh, there. And then to see that Gabriel Iglesias was before me, so he's the one that hit me, and he hit me with a giant tequila bottle. Perfect.
Right.
It was so great. And it was so fun, and I'm so glad I got such a positive response online. And I got a lot of new fans because of that, because people were like, "What? Why was Hornswoggle in the?" Oh, that was Brad Williams. Okay.
I got to tell you,
Hornswoggle's career is on a nice little resurgence right now, because I'm slowly creeping into AEW, and people think that it's him.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my God, I gotta tell you, the whole Manitoba Melee, I enjoyed the whole thing, but I'm where I marked out was when I saw Ryan Patrick on there, because I get to work with Ryan. I knew him back when he was an emailer, And I feel so great for him, because he's blown up since he was on America's Got Talent, and he totally deserves it.
Ryan Niemiller, great comic. So here's a fun thing that nobody knows about. Niemiller and I. Is he Niemiller or is he Patrick? I don't know.
He's Patrick right now, for stage name. He's
like a wrestling gimmick. It makes sense because Niemiller's hard to spell.
Absolutely.
So, Ryan Patrick, he's a comic from America's Got Talent. You may know him. He's got a condition where he has like 2 fingers on one side and like 1 finger on the other side. And but he and I did so at the Ontario Improv like 10 years ago. This is Ontario, California. We tried to blend wrestling and comedy into a wrestling comedy show, and it wasn't roasting per se. Like 2 comics would do a set, and then the audience would judge who was better, and then we move on. But then we would also cut promos on each other. So Niemiller and I were a match, and it was the handicap match. Sorry, Ryan Patrick and I were a handicap match. It was so great. Sandman came out for the event. Rob Van Dam came out for it and then started doing stand-up comedy after it. Eric Bischoff showed up.
Oh, wow.
I saw Bischoff in the crowd, so I threw a couple jokes at him. So it was awesome. It was really great. So if you ever have Ryan Patrick on this podcast, and I'm sure you'd love to do it, I'm sure he'll talk fondly about that. I have great memories about that.
Oh yeah, and of course his moniker is he's the Cripple Threat.
Yeah,
which is he's just such an awesome guy, Yeah,
and that's one of the other things that, like when we talked about the similarities between comedy and wrestling, it's coming with the character and it's sticking to it. You can learn a lot. I won't say the name of the wrestler because he doesn't want the public to know that I'm writing his stuff. But there is a certain wrestler in WWE who keeps reaching out to me to write jokes for him for when he cuts promos, and I'm doing it. I don't want any credit for it. I don't want him to say my name because I want it to work for him. But he loves comedy, so he wants to be funnier, and I'm kind of helping him with that. And just character and how you act on stage, how you enter the stage. Watch Bill Hicks's. Bill Hicks had a special where he essentially did a wrestler's entrance. The stage is blank, a back door raises up, there's a wall of video fire behind it, and Hicks walks out with an Undertaker-like cowboy hat and takes it off before he starts doing his show. And I'm like, that's pro wrestling. Sam Kinison? Sam Kinison's pro wrestling. Yeah. Right now, I come out on stage to Judas by Fozzy, and because I love it, and it's a great song, and it gets the crowd fired up, and it's so cool because I'll walk out, and when that song is playing, you'll see the wrestling fans in my audience like like they get very excited, and then they start talking to me. Like I stopped the show 2 weeks ago in Salt Lake City because I saw a guy in the front row wearing a Bullet Club shirt. And I was like, oh, we're friends.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, dude, that's just it. Like, there is so many. I mean, you guys are on the road, the same. A lot of the travel is the same. You guys are
road life,
car, road life, character building, and performing. Like, that was the one thing you had mentioned that you had seen it. Took you a week. You went up. You did your open mic. I waited about 6 weeks of John urging me before I did my little experimental phase of stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
Whatever it was. But the thing that I took away the most out of it was learning how to perform, in front of people.
Yeah,
being
on stage, and there's
so crazy.
Yeah, and you have to you can't talk like it's a script, whether it be stand-up comedy or wrestling. You can't, you have to you have to have an idea in your head, but then make it sound like you're coming up with it in that moment. So yeah, it's there's a lot of similarities, and I think it's why a lot of wrestlers and comedians get along. Like before he passed away, Roddy Piper would be at his name is on the Comedy Store wall because he started doing comedy, and he was hanging out at the Comedy Store all the time. And the other thing that I really enjoy that's a similarity between wrestlers and comedians is the whole notion of paying your dues. Wrestlers and comics both, you don't get to be like, I'm gonna be a stand-up comic and then go to the front of the line. No, you don't get to do that. There's no shortcuts to being good. In the same way, like if you push a wrestler too fast, it's really obvious. They're out there and they don't know what they're doing, and it hurts the performance. In the same way with comedians, there's a lot of big name TV stars, movie stars, YouTube stars that maybe the work dries up, and they have to do stand-up comedy to make a living, which sucks. They're like, oh, just do stand-up comedy. Oh, you mean the hardest thing? Oh yeah, go for it, fucker. So they show up and they sell tickets because the audience wants to see them. They want to see a celebrity, but it becomes very obvious very quickly that they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. We had a local radio personality up here in the Twin Cities who's very, very popular, and wanted to start going out and doing stand-up shows, and found out that the fans would come, just like you said, the fans would come to see him.
Yeah.
But he couldn't fill the time, and so he would actually hire a headliner to do the middle, and then he'd close out with about 15 minutes.
Smart.
Yeah, I mean, it really is.
At least he did that and didn't try to have an ego and be like, I could do an hour. No,
yeah.
Who's the guy? Who's the radio dude in Minneapolis who's been there for years?
Tom Bernard.
Yeah, Tom Bernard.
At KQRS.
Yeah.
I love Tom Bernard.
Talk about longevity. 95% of the time, I think he's doing the show from Florida now because of technology. And I mean it. But he's got a podcast kingdom up here with that show. And he does his morning show, and then he does about another 4 hours after that, live streaming and podcasting. It's talk about one of the radio guys that grabbed technology and held on to it. He was that guy.
I love Tom Bernard.
Dude, I interned in that studio for 2 years, and I met him once. And when I did meet him, I didn't even know who he was because I didn't know what he looked like. He was never there. And when he was there, I was like, "Oh shit, you're Tom Bernard." And he walked by like, "Hi." I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, I've been on that podcast. He's a great guy.
Oh yeah, man.
I was going to ask you. You're talking about doing dues. Have you ever been subjected to a Tribble Run?
Yes. Tribble Run. Wow, that's very inside.
Yeah, but it's hell. It's hell, right?
Yeah, Tribble. So there's this booker, for those of you who don't know, which is probably everybody. There's this booker whose last name is Tribble, who would put you on what we call Tribble Runs, which are like, because we all know, like, if you look at my schedule now, it's like, all right, I'm going to Orlando, I'm going to Phoenix, and then Los Angeles, and then No, Tribble Runs are like, you're going to
Winnemucca, Nevada.
Yeah, you're going to Feather Rock, Iowa, and you're like, huh? They're like, is there an airport there? He goes, no. How do I get there? Figure it out.
We did. I was gonna say I did one with one of my buddies, and we were out for 3 weeks and put 5,000 miles on the car.
Yep.
Because you go out there and without really looking close at the map, you're like, oh well, I'll do the show, and then we'll wake up and sit at the coffee shop and maybe send out some emails but it's like, no, it's 11 and a half hours to the next goddamn show. You get to go to sleep after you wind down a little bit, and then you get to get up and drive your ass there. So you're not, it's fun to do it, but it's also more fun to talk shit about it after you're done.
Yeah, it's that thing. It's that shared experience of you have to go through this if you want to consider yourself a real comedian. You got to do a Tribble Run or whatever. Yeah, you have to drive 11 hours.
There's Dan with a comment.
That's awesome.
All right.
Be back on. We'll see you. We'll all see you then in February.
Yeah,
as we'll be on as well.
Oh yeah.
On the next.
Saw you in Appleton.
Speaking of tour dates, as we're getting ready to kind of wind this down, and again, Brad, thank you for coming on, man. It's so awesome of you.
Well, I mean, I had to come on. I'm not really doing anything. I'm just sitting here in my man cave enjoying a little bit of the bubbly.
Nice. I got here from here too. This is the official one that you didn't get because you weren't there.
Here's a couple.
Blame your baby.
Son of a bitch.
Here's a couple of goddamn show-offs right there, folks.
That was wow. That was a game of can you top this? I thought I was being cool, and then you just blew me out of the water, man. Well done.
That's all right. We'll all get one in February, and we can share it together since we'll all be on the boat together.
Yes. It's very rare that I get asked to do wrestling podcasts. I get asked to do comedy podcasts and showbiz podcasts and things like that all the time. So it's rare that I get to do wrestling podcasts. So I love doing wrestling podcasts. I love talking wrestling. And here's your other thing. Right now, if someone turns down your podcast, it's because they don't like you. Because you can't use the old excuse of like, oh, I'm so busy. I don't have any time. Yeah, you got time. What are you doing?
Right.
Traveling.
We got Steve Harvey coming on next week. That's true.
People I emailed them that I hope they're watching right now.
Yeah. So if they're not responding, sorry, Ace, they don't like you.
Yeah.
I'm going to say one thing quick before you go. I know that you mentioned that you worked out in Salt Lake City either last week, a couple weeks ago. There are some clubs that are opened up now. I noticed on your calendar you got a lot of dates in Florida. Are those still going on? Yes. Awesome. Love to hear that.
Yes, Orlando, Miami, and Tampa. They're all going to be over the summer. As you hear this, or if you're watching this, I'll be in Phoenix, Arizona this weekend. My schedule changes a lot. So go to my website, follow me on social media, which you guys have this amazing crawl that are going down there. So people know where my website is, bradwilliamscomedy.com. And look at that to get the updated schedule. Like for Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona this weekend. We had to move all the shows up because there's a curfew. So now I'm doing like shows at 3:00 p.m., 6 p.m. Oh, daytime shows. Gotta love it.
Oh my gosh. We also noticed that in I think was it August or September, you're going to be in at the Diamond Joe Casino in Worth, Iowa.
Yeah, that's our neck of the woods there, Brad. We're gonna
make right down the road from us. So if
Come
that
on
holds
by.
through, if you don't get something better.
I was supposed to do that gig in March, and then pandemic, so that got canceled. Well, it got rescheduled to that date, so I hope it stays. I love doing shows like that. I love doing, like, people are, sometimes you'll see me go to these small towns and you're like, why do you want to go to the small towns? And I go, easy, no competition. Like,
Yeah.
it's, you go to Vegas and you're going up against David fucking Copperfield. Like, you know, you go to the Diamond Joe Event Center in a small town in Iowa, and it's like, cool, I'm here, and
Right.
like, that's the only thing here, so I'm happy with that. Although
Absolutely.
sometimes, and this is an interesting story. Sometimes that will backfire on you, because if a town doesn't have a lot going on, if there's a second thing going on, that can bump you. And I'll say this: I was in a small town in Virginia, I think Huntington, West Virginia, Huntington, West Virginia, and I was doing a show at the old Funny Bone Comedy Club there, which is not there anymore, and it was my Saturday show, which you guys know, if you're doing a Saturday show, that's the show you can always count on for being, if not sold out, a great crowd. The Saturday show. If you can't sell out Saturday, life's not good for you. So I'm excited because the shows have been light on Thursday and Friday, but I'm like, I got that Saturday. Saturday is even lighter than Friday, and I'm like, what is happening? I go, what's, like, this doesn't make any sense. I'll be the first one to admit it when I'm like, I didn't sell this weekend, but this is weird. So what's up? And the owner of the club goes, well, the Cake Boss is in town, and he did 4 shows at the theater. What? The Cake Boss sold out 4 shows at a 1,400 square foot, or 1,400 seat theater. What the shit? The Cake Boss? Who's buying a ticket to see? Oh, I bet he's gonna bake a cake. Is that what he's gonna do?
Right?
You bought a ticket to watch a guy bake a cake?
Hey,
Needless
you
to
never
say,
know.
I've never been back to West Virginia. I still hold a grudge.
That's so crazy. Like, yeah, what the hell would that? I wouldn't even imagine what that show would be like. He's just gonna yell at.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. You know, I wouldn't go watch that. My wife loves watching the British Bake Off, but if they had a live show, she wouldn't go see it.
Right.
Oh my God.
Okay, they made an angel food cake with some birds chirping in the background. All right, harder money well spent. No,
$75 for upper deck for this? What?
yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh man. Well,
all right.
Fuck you.
I was going to say, Brad, before we go, I'm gonna hit up a couple of questions here quick, and then we'll let you go. Jason has one for you. Some of your favorite clubs to play.
All right. Love these clubs. Comedy Works in Denver is the best club in the country. Ask any comic, if it's not in their top 5, it's because they haven't played there. I'll be there in August. Hilarities in Cleveland, great club, fantastic club. I don't want to leave out clubs. Wise Guys in Salt Lake City, fucking awesome. That is a great club. There's a lot, but like, yeah, Wise Guys in Salt Lake City, because you get the rebel Mormons. You know what I mean? The Mormons that are like, oh, you're worried about coming here? I drink Diet Coke in front of my parents. I don't give a shit. And they're great audiences. Comedy Works in Denver, the Improv in Washington, D.C., the D.C. Improv. There's something magical about that room. It's just fantastic. And then Comedy on State.
Oh yeah,
Madison, Wisconsin. That is a fantastic club, family owned. The dad started it. The daughters run it now.
Yeah.
They're all awesome. The best clubs. I'll tell you what the best clubs are. The best clubs are the clubs where the owner or manager is running that business because they also love stand-up comedy. If they're running it to make money, or they came from the restaurant business and they run their club like a restaurant, it'll be fine. It'll be good, but it'll make money. It'll be efficient. You'll have some great nights there. But there's just something about, like I said, the clubs I just mentioned, where the people that run it have a genuine love of stand-up comedy, and it shows in the club. It really does. It's great.
All right. One more quick question here from Dave.
Mm-hmm. Jack Rafter. That's Jericho's assistant, I believe. Yeah, and he's cooler than he says he is. However cool he says he is, he's cooler. Jericho actually steals a lot of his bits from Jack. So
Oh, you heard it here.
Jason will come and watch you in August in Denver. That'll be awesome. Have fun.
Oh, yeah. If Jason, if you're coming to Denver in August, great. Wear a Cruise shirt, wear something so I know you. And if you're a fan of football, I was just talking to a certain former Denver Bronco, I guess current Denver Bronco, who owns a couple of car dealerships, and he's probably going to be coming to one of the shows. So just be aware of that.
Awesome. You know, real quick too, Jason and Erica, they're friends that I made on the first cruise. We met there, became friends. We've been keeping in contact since, and we hang out on the cruises. And they're in Colorado. They sent us a picture, but I cannot figure out how to get this little graphic up so you can see it. But it's you from the first cruise. I don't know where they came from, but the two little plastic hands that you had in your sleeves. I remember that there was two little like toy hands. I don't remember what it was from, but it's you holding them in as your sleeves. But I can't figure out how to get it up here for this.
Oh, I don't remember where those hands came from.
I don't either. I remember them now that I see
them. Little plastic hands.
Yeah.
And I put my arm in. Oh yeah, Jack Slade is the I put my arms into my sleeves, and I had these two little hands just sticking out of my sleeves. That's the magic of an unlimited alcohol tab on a cruise ship. Weird stuff happens to you, and you don't know where, you don't know why, you don't know how, and then you just kind of go on with it.
Yeah, I wish I could get that picture up. It's classic. But yeah,
on your Instagram, people will see it there.
Right. But yeah, man, again, thanks for joining us. Again, the third cruise, Triple Whammy. Everybody get on it. Everybody who's on here. I know, dude, a lot of people were bummed that you weren't on the second cruise. Everybody understood why, which is the nice thing about that cruise is everybody's a family and they're like, well, we know why and it's cool. But man, people were bummed. So the fact that you're coming this time around, people are super pumped right now.
I am not going to have sex with my wife from now until the cruise because I want to make sure that they came from, wow, this person knows where the hands came from.
She's a cruise historian.
Yeah,
that's where the picture came from.
I think Chris Jericho's wife had a Halloween costume or something during costume night, and I think that's where I got the hands. But yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I'm free during the Jericho Cruise, and if I have to fly to Washington or if I have to fly to Atlanta and go to the CDC myself and find a vaccine so we can all get on this damn cruise, I'm gonna do it because it's gonna be the most fun ever.
That's right. And a bunch of us will join you on that. As we're getting ready to wrap up, John, I know we wanted to just mention this real quick, and we had mentioned earlier too. John and I are in Minnesota. We're located about an hour and some change from the cities. You're just outside of the Twin Cities. We touched on what happened a week ago because it happened that day, but obviously things have gotten escalated since then. So, just a little bit. So, first of all, hopefully things can work themselves out. I know that Minnesota's doing what we can do to try to set that example. Things have calmed down a lot for our state, even though it doesn't feel like it when you watch the news. It has. But a lot of relief efforts are going on too, cleaning up the city, getting things built back up. A lot of people out homes or work or job or food and stuff like that. John, some people who got some food shelters.
Yeah, I wanted to pop this up real quick. Folks, if you're around the country and you're watching this, a group of Minneapolis comedians, basically the Minneapolis comedy community, has gotten together and they have set up a pop-up food shelf in downtown St. Paul and on the north side of Minneapolis. And if you would like to donate, because I know you're all out of the area, but if you'd like to donate, please look it up at Shea Cares MN, or you can send an email to SheaCaresInfo@gmail.com. And I can guarantee you these are really awesome people. And if you send them some money, it will go exactly where they say it's going to go to. Because I know probably 75% of the people that are up there helping them. So please, if you wouldn't do that, you'd be a hero to me if you did. Other than that, let's see here. I want to thank you again, Brad, because gosh, it's just been a blast.
And thank you for many reasons. And I didn't know this when it got rescheduled, but I think now has been kind of the perfect time for me to hop on because it's been a nice distraction. We're not trying to say that the events of the world are not happening. We're just trying to say it's nice to take a breath just for a moment and have a little levity, and then we'll get back to the seriousness of real life. But for now, it's fun to laugh, watch some wrestling, talk wrestling, and share some great stories from a cruise, and then we'll all get back at it. But yeah, we're not ignoring what's happening. We're just saying, let's take a breath and and have a little fun. And I'm so glad and I'm so honored that you guys asked me on, and so thankful that I was able to do that with you guys.
Very, very great. And of course, you're welcome to come back on if you'd like to come one more time before the cruise. We'd love to have you because I know you got way more stories about the cruise than we got to. Among other things.
And there's going to be a second wave of announcements of who's going to be on the cruise. So when that, how about you guys hit me up when that second wave of announcement happens. There'll be some more comedians that are announced that I already know who they are, and I'll just say they're great. So you're going to want to, and if you're not familiar with them, that's fine. I'll hype them up, and I'll tell you the kind of stuff that you could expect. I mean, the last time for the second cruise, when I couldn't make it, they were somehow able to replace me with Gabriel Iglesias. So, I mean,
he was all right.
Hopefully I don't, hopefully I make it this year, because you don't want some schlub like Gabriel Iglesias coming on the boat. How awesome was that? Brad's out, Fluffy's in. Holy shit.
I'm not gonna lie. When they said you were out, it was like, oh man. And then they're like, well, Fluffy's coming on. I was like, wait, what happened? All right. But that was also personal. I had personal ties. There's like a thing that he did for my family once, and I think pretty indirectly, he was a big influence in my brother who passed away from cancer. So when I did meet him, and I was able to have my brother meet him before he died, and so when I met him on the boat, I just was a fool anyways. I was just crying like, you're so awesome.
That's the kind of guy he is, though. That's kind of that doesn't surprise me at all.
Very much so, yeah. But yeah, and definitely, dude, we'll have to do something on the boat. We'll have to drink some bubbly together.
We will. We will drink. We'll drink a little bit of the bubbly, and then if you guys can bring a Zoom player on, we'll sit down and do a little pod on the boat if you want to.
We'll do it.
Definitely,
we will absolutely do it. All right, Brad Williams, folks, follow him at Funny Brad or BradWilliamsComedy.com. We appreciate it so much, folks. Thanks all of you for watching tonight. We appreciate it so much, and we will see you next week on the 2 Count.